So I'm sure most conservatives are pretty sick and tired of liberals labeling them as racist or xenophobic, whatever, when they have different policy positions than the liberals. Now, they understand why this is divisive, why this is not good for the country to go label large sections of the population as hateful bigots who want to take away your rights. Andrew Scheer understands this. He always complains about it when Trudeau does the same to him. But what does he do? He goes and hires Warren Kinsella, a red Tory. I think he was a liberal strategist at one point. Now he's like supporting the conservatives, but I never trusted the guy. I saw his Twitter account. I saw the stuff he tweeted, and it was very leftist. Or it was, oh, Trump is a big meanie racist and blah blah blah. There was enough clues for me to see that this guy was not a real conservative. But this is just even more information that I now have not to trust the guy. He also, I think, deleted his Twitter account, all this other shit. So it looks pretty bad on him. Andrew Scheer, during a question period, wouldn't even answer whether he paid him or not. He just said, "Oh, we don't comment on who we pay or which vendors we work with," or some bullshit like that. And then Katie Simpson, I think that big fat whale reporter from CBC, she said, "Well, is that a rule? Is that a new rule you created or anything?" And he just kept responding with, "Well, we don't comment on who we pay, So, yes, okay, we know that you paid him because the way you answered the question itself, it makes it pretty obvious that you did pay the guy. And yes, I know that this is a smear against Andrew Scheer 2 days or a day before the election. Like, I see that, right? But whose fault is it? Because I know a bunch of dumb CPC supporters are going to say, "See, oh, this is Max, is working with Trudeau to make Andrew Scheer look bad and blah, 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 blah." But, Trudeau never told Andrew Scheer to start a campaign against Maxime Bernier to make him out to be a racist. But also, we got to remember that the majority of the rhetoric calling Maxime Bernier racist and his PPC supporters wasn't coming from the conservatives, wasn't coming from Warren Kinsella. I'm sure some of it did, but I have a feeling it was a very ineffectual campaign. They just probably paid him a lot of money to make a couple Twitter accounts with 100 followers and stuff, and maybe do a little bit of research on people, but really nothing. I think he stopped it in June or July. So all of the rhetoric that we see labeling the PPC and all these people racist is still coming from the left. It is still the mainstream media that is doing this. So it's not really Andrew Scheer's fault that this perception is out there, but it just shows you how dirty he is, what type of tactics he's willing to use, and how stupid he is as well. Because do you really think it's a good idea to use the same strategy the liberals use against your opponents? You're just legitimizing their fucking arguments, you stupid fucking idiots. You stupid fucking morons. Instead of being, "Oh, but Max is a racist and his supporters are racist," you should be like, "Hey, they have freedom of speech and they should be able to promote whatever number of immigrants they want into the country as much as they want, and it's not racist." This is a type of rhetoric that you should start to inject into the discussion instead of adding more divisive rhetoric like calling your opponents fucking racist. Like this, this is why we call this party the LibCon party. They do the exact same things that the liberals do, maybe a little slightly different. And then they do a lot of things worse than liberals do with the way that they attack people and whatnot. They use the same strategies that they use. But I'm telling you guys, I've told the conservatives this hundreds of times in these videos. If any of you guys actually listen, is that you can't out-left the left. You'll never win at that game, okay? You'll never win at that game. You will always be considered racist and trying to make the PPC out to be the hateful party. And then you're like just the good conservatives that love everybody and immigration, all this stuff. It's not a winning strategy. You're gonna lose every time when you do that fucking shit. But what do? And I'm gonna see a few people that I know defending this as well and making excuses for it. And you should really look at yourself and start to question yourself and say, hey, am I being objective? Am I just a partisan shill who will let my party get away with murder? Am I no better than Trudeau's supporters who call themselves feminists, and then when Trudeau grabs the ass of a woman, they look the other way? Are you any better than those people if you still support Scheer and a party that uses this type of strategy against their opponents, this divisive strategy? You know, was it unifying for America when Hillary Clinton called half of the country or a good portion of the country deplorables? 30, 40, 60 million people deplorables. Do you think that's a good way to unify the country? No, it's not. It's a good way to divide the country. And, you know, look at Andrew Scheer. Like I said, this campaign was probably ineffective whatsoever. But now you just look like a fucking retard because now all this information is coming out and now you have to answer it. And she's trying to answer the questions. He just won't answer them. Like you did it to yourself. If you were just a legitimate conservative party, if you just promoted actual conservative principles, if you didn't label your opponents as racist and bigots, then maybe you would be doing a lot better. Instead of trying to straddle the fence, straddle the middle, try to make it out like your party are a bunch of centrist and stuff. Like, it's not going to work, guys. It's not going to work. You know, you got to start doing what Max is doing if you want any chance of ever winning again. Or, you know, maybe they'll get the minority government this time. Who knows? But with all the information coming out saying, well, even if Scheer wins a minority, he may not still be the prime minister and all this other stuff, right? If they were a hardcore conservative party right from the beginning, like PPC is, they would have blown the competition out of the water. But they only look at polls. They look at polls. They look at what the population thinks at the time about gay marriage and climate change and this and that and this. But the only polls that they don't seem to look at are the immigration polls. Hey, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how, you know, they'll cuck on all these other issues because of the polling numbers. But when it comes to immigration, even though 60% or more of the population wants immigration reduced, only 4% of the population wants it increased. What do? They say, oh yeah, we're for increasing immigration. Oh, we're fine with that. You know, it was the Conservative Party in the 1990s that opened the floodgates to immigration or for immigration. But before, we used to turn the tap on and turn it back off, and you know, we'd let some people in, then we would stop, then we let maybe some more people in for jobs, you know. But realistically, it's just because companies don't want to pay their workers more money, so they let more people into the country. That's all immigration is for, really, you know, and housing and stuff. You know, Toronto and BC and Vancouver want their housing market to keep going up, so they want to keep bringing in lots of people and students to keep buying homes and bringing up the price. But nonetheless, from the 1990s, the Conservatives opened the floodgates because you know why? Because they're trying to win the immigrant vote over the leftists. And they're like, okay, well, if we open the floodgates, then immigrants will love us. They'll love us and all this grit. Well, no, it didn't work. Your party still is in power less often than their party. And if you do go that route, why are you even calling yourself conservative anymore? Because you didn't conserve nothing. You didn't conserve our country. You didn't conserve the people, the traditions, the culture. No, you're just bringing people in to fucking replace us. So you can make a good 401k, or you can pay your workers less fucking money. So, fuck all these bastards. Fuck Andrew Scheer using this fucking rhetoric against his own goddamn citizens and shit. Go back to fucking America, you piece of shit. But, if I keep going, I'll just continue swearing and stuff. But everybody, if you have not voted yet, go out and vote. Vote for the PPC. Okay? You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose. The LibCon party, the conservatives, are just as bad as the liberals, or you can just not vote, I guess. I know some people think that's a good idea, but I disagree. I keep hearing this one quote go around that people will say, well, in communist Russia, they said it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the votes. But guys, we are not communist Russia. Okay, yes, there's tons of corruption in our government. Lots of corruption. But the polling stations in Canada don't work, or the voting booths, etc., don't work the same as Russia. Okay? The media would not be focusing so hard on getting kids and women and all these people, immigrants, to go out to vote if voting didn't matter. If it didn't do anything. Jesus fucking Christ, guys. Use your fucking brains and logic instead of just repeating quotes that you hear. Because that doesn't mean anything. It's just a quote. Just because somebody said it doesn't make it true. Now, yes, there's going to be parts in the ballot where some people maybe will throw away your ballot, or they'll try to let some illegals to vote or anything like that. But it's not the same as Russia, where pretty much, there was just one organization counting the votes and all this, and just throwing other ones away and stuff like that. That isn't how it works in Canada. Guys, think about it. They would not be importing this many immigrants. They would not be trying to get you to vote if it didn't help them get in power. Otherwise, they wouldn't even waste any time or money on that shit, because they would just fucking rig it. So get out there and vote. Put your name down, okay? What's going to happen? Are you going to, because your vote, somebody's going to come down and track you down and murder you or something? No, nothing bad is going to happen after you vote or anything like that. And it's not going to take a long time out of your day, 15 minutes out of your fucking day to stop somewhere, write down on a piece of paper, and then leave. Our ancestors fought and died to give us a country that we can live in, that we can prosper in. And if you just ignore everything and neglect it, you're a piece of shit. And you are also responsible for the destruction of Canada and for the situation that is in now. You are. Because, we had, imagine your dad worked so hard for you, did all this shit for you, and then you just said, fuck you, just went in your room and played video games for the rest of your life, even though he gave you all these opportunities and all this shit. That would be you'd be spitting in his face. Lots of Canadians died so we could have rights and stuff like that. Voting rights. I'm not a big fan of democracy either. I would prefer to live in some type of republic, or even have no government whatsoever and have a free, voluntarist society. But nonetheless, we have the ability to vote. We have the ability to put our name on the ballot, and it can make some difference. I'm not saying the whole world is going to be fixed when you go and cast a fucking ballot. Okay, don't insult my fucking intelligence or other people's intelligence by arguing with a fucking straw man. Okay, because I see that too. Oh, well, you think voting for Mr. Woo or Mr. Spartamax is going to fix everything? You know what? It's really easy to argue a straw man when nobody fucking says it. Well, have I ever said Max is going to fix the whole fucking planet when he gets elected? Oh my God, man. But like I said, stupid people like to argue with simple fucking straw mans because it makes them feel smart about themselves. But, I can argue against a misrepresentation of somebody's argument all fucking day too. But that's not what people are saying. Put your vote in and keep working afterwards. If you want to make a difference in society, you do have to start with yourself too. But voting for a party that is actually propositioning real ideas that are going to be beneficial for Canadians is also a good thing to do. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And I know people think it's all the same too, because I keep seeing this rhetoric, and to some degree it is. But there are differences between parties. Even the libcons, even the conservatives and liberals, there's still differences, okay? Noticeable differences that you would notice in your life. Now, if we want to live in a free society, in a voluntarist society, a society with like less government and stuff, like which is a society that I want to live in, okay? Then how do you incentivize people to like that stuff? How do you get them to like it? Do you just wait until everything collapses and then people are forced to go back to that? Well, that will probably happen to some extent as well. They'll be forced back to living a more modest lifestyle. But a good way to get people to like smaller government is to give them a little bit of smaller government and show them how it will positively affect their life. Because people have been brainwashed in, public education systems for years, convinced that without the state, you're not going to have healthcare, you're not going to have a bus system, you're not going to have this, you're not going to have that. Well, we could have all of these things without the government, and they could be run more efficiently, better. So if you were to vote for a party one day, and they did get elected, and yeah, maybe they don't follow everything they said they were going to do, but they institute a few things that are small government oriented, right? And people start to use it, and they start to benefit from it. Then that will start to wake people up and be like, maybe we don't need the government, the state, to do everything for us. Maybe we can start scaling things back. Maybe we can start doing this little by little. This is my idea. Maybe it's a terrible idea. Maybe it's stupid. Maybe it's naive. Maybe it's all of these things. But at least it's something. At least it might be a way to get people to change a little bit. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. And sorry for wasting your time. Go back to living in the woods and learning how to trap and fish and living sustainably off the land or something. Sorry for wasting your time, but this is my idea. This is what I think could have an impact. And like I said earlier with the whole voting thing, we don't live in Russia, okay? Yes, there's tons of corruption, and the voting system and the voting booths, especially with the 100 voting cards, registry cards being sent to permanent residents, there's all that shit going on. But all of that wouldn't be going on if they could just count the votes any way they wanted to and just pick the leaders however they wanted to, right? So guys, don't get too disillusioned, okay? There is some legitimacy within the way that we run our system, or not legitimacy, but it's not all as corrupt as you think, or at the very least, your vote can still be counted. It's not just going to be completely thrown away like under Stalin. But that's all I pretty much had to say, guys. If you like my content, subscribe and have a good day. See ya.